Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. Today I got a special guest in the studio with me, Cole Weller. Cole, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, man? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, doing great. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Yeah, man. We're just talking a little bit before starting the podcast just about golf actually and how, getting birdie on hole 18 can just bring you right back into the game. I think it's kind of like that with landscaping. You go through some of these projects, deal with some of these clients that are just such a pain, and then at the final last stretch of the job, they show all this appreciation. You see the fruition of the job, and you get that text how happy they are, even though they were such a pain during the process. You're like, okay, now this is why I do what I do. So, Cole, I mean, what do you guys do over at Weller Brothers? What type of work do you do? Where are you located? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, first off, I mean that's a great analogy, right? So we talk to our sales team and our ops managers about that all the time, right? Like you can, you know, early in a project, I mean, if you're kind of missing the mark a little bit, what they remember is the last week of the project and how it turns out. So, I mean, I think we've had just so many examples of, client interactions where we deal with that, where it's like, it truly is the just birdie 18, come back. And
Yeah.
at least for us at Weller, I mean, what I'd like to say about Weller is we do, first off, we do, really, really high quality works. We've got some awesome craftsmen that work for us, and but we have conversations with those people, the sales guys, all the way down to the ops managers and the guys working on the job. Like, I'm not so sure that it's, in the end, it's even the best, finest quality that even matters. I think that's important, but it's like how you make the clients feel, right? So, I mean, did you make them feel like they got birdie on 18? And if so, they'll probably hire you back again and they'll come back for more. And if not, it might not be the case. So we, that's a testament to what we do at Weller and this conversations that we have every day. But, yeah, I mean, a little bit about our business. So, we're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's where I'm at right now. It's our home base. And then we've got branches in Rochester, Minnesota, and Des Moines, Iowa. But our business is a mix of landscape, design, build, and then maintenance. So our business probably 55-60% maintenance, and then the rest is design, build. And I actually shouldn't say that. We just made an acquisition recently. We got into the pool construction and service business. So there's a
nice
percentage of our revenue that's that too, and that might be pool construction service might actually be 20% of our revenue now. So we're dabbling in that a little bit. We had a good opportunity.
What kind of pushed you into that? I mean, that's kind of a bit of a risky acquisition to go after in my book, but I mean, it must have made sense for you guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a good subcon. I mean, the company that we acquired, so they do a bunch of different things, but the part of their business is pool construction and service, and we've been in a contractor subcontractor relationship with them for a long time. So just made sense. I knew the owner was getting out. He's actually not even really an old guy. I mean, he's a young guy, frankly. He's not even 50 years old, and he was just kind of ready to move on. He sells spas and services spas, and got some other parts of their business that they're a little more passionate about and wanted to focus on. So I started talking to him probably 2-3 years ago about this, and then finally we pushed it over the finish line back at I think we're on week 5 or so. So that was beginning of April, maybe something like that.
Wow, this is fresh. Okay.
That's fresh. Yeah. We're learning. Tell you what, we're learning a lot about pool service mostly right now. So, we're in the Midwest, right? So everyone's opening their pool right now.
Yeah. How about that timing?
Yeah. There's a limited number of, service providers here that do the work. So we're getting drinking from the fire hose here a little bit. We're figuring it out though. So we're excited about it.
That's right on. I mean, it's such a pain point in high end res is the pool. It's a linchpin to the entire project, and it's always just so hard to find good subs. I mean, is that part of taking control of that supply chain a little bit for you guys?
It is, yeah. So same thing, right? Like what's interesting, Justin, is like every landscape company I talk, I mean, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're from Kansas City or Monterey, California, or Dallas, Texas, or Orlando, Florida. It's just the same story. You've got these pool contractors, and they're hard to wrangle down, and it's hard to control the quality. And for us in Sioux Falls, it's construction timelines. So if we're working with a pool contractor and a subcontractor relationship, so we're managing the project for a client, it's just, yeah, it's hard to make promises to clients depending on who your subcontractors are. And I feel super
Yeah.
confident about that. So we, we finally just said, let's figure out a way to take this in house. And this was the avenue for us. So it's been, it'll be good. I think there's a kind of a standalone business element to it, which is the, pool construction and service. There's also there's some synergistic opportunity there with our landscape construction crews, and just to kind of provide better client experience. I think just tighten up timelines a little bit and maybe control the quality a little better. So we're excited about it.
Nice, man. Well, congrats on that. On your business, do you guys do any commercial install or commercial maintenance, or are you 100% res?
Yeah, we do. So our our maintenance business is probably 70% commercial multifamily HOA, and the balance is residential. And then in construction, we're probably 80% residential and the balance is commercial. But the only real commercial construction we do is kind of design build, stuff that we've been pegged
Yeah.
to come in and design and execute. Maybe it's a business of a residential client, or frankly just a good commercial contractor relationship that we have that says, hey, you know what, these guys are going to come in, they're going to be, whatever, 10, 20, whatever, pick your number, percent higher. And we think
Yeah.
for the project based on the complexity, these might be the guys for you. So we're not winning a lot of straight, low bid work. That's not, we've tried, honestly, we've tried, we just can't figure it out. Honestly. I mean, I'm, bang my head against the wall with our team saying like, how do we get this done for this? And we just can't figure it out. It's not like, I mean, that sincerely too. Like
Yeah.
I cannot figure it out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's like, even when you go after those jobs and you're like, we're going to get aggressive, we're going to get in there. And then someone comes in and they're just so low, and you just kind of have to give them you're like, all right, I guess they're going to do it for 28% gross profit. Like, have at it.
And honestly, like some of those jobs I really want. I'm like, they're nice jobs, big planting jobs that you don't need a detailed hardscape craftsman to do. You've got you might have, if you've got 5, good hardscape craftsmen on your crew, you might have 20 guys that could go execute this job for you. Like, you really want the job. You just can't make sense of it. Right. I mean, I think it's I don't know that, at least for us here, landscape construction it's a simple economics experiment, right? I mean, just supply and demand, and demand is what the jobs that are out there and what the market wants, and supply is just how many skilled people you have to do the work. And at least for us here, it's like there's just so much opportunity that we just don't need to do that 28% gross work, right? So it's just kind of, we can backfill that with a little better opportunity work. So
That's right. So on your res side, I was kind of checking your website out before the pod, and man, you guys do some really, really cool work. How do you guys get into those relationships, into the residential contracts where you're doing the design and the build? Is it just word of mouth? Are you doing advertising? How are you guys building your business?
Yeah, I think for like specifically the stuff that you're referencing, like maybe the stuff that we advertise a little more, you see on the website, like that's all just relationship stuff. I think we're in smaller markets, right? So Sioux Falls is, maybe the MSA of Sioux Falls, 250,000 people. Rochester's even Minnesota's a little smaller than that. Des Moines, probably 600,000-700,000 MSA population. So we're in tight knit markets. I mean, all the people know all the people, right? So if whether you're looking for the entrepreneurs in a market or the physicians or surgeons, right? Like we know that all the surgeons know all the surgeons. And if the surgeons don't know the surgeons, we know for sure that the surgeons' wives know the surgeons' wives, right? So we're kind of, we've figured out a way to penetrate this, what I would call like the social spheres in the markets we're in. And then after that, I mean, I think it's, do you do good quality work, and do you deliver on the promises you make? Do do what you say you're going to do. Like we like to say, we deliver difficult news face to face. This is some of the basic business fundamentals. I think if you can execute those, at least in the podcast is trades talk, right? I think if you can do the business fundamentals good in any of the trades, I think you've got a real opportunity to grow a great business.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. It's like the bar is not set tremendously high in the trades industry, for better or worse. It's just is what it is. Now, I do think it's improving. I do think it's raising, but as of today, answer your phone, do what you say you're going to do, charge a fair price, and just be honest with people. It's amazing how quickly and successfully you can grow a business.
Every time I talk about our business, I talk about I don't know. I mean, I don't think you need to be the smartest guy in the room, right? Like I know most of the rooms I sit in, I'm not the smartest guy. I think it's what you said, right? Like, are you doing the basics well? And this industry is, which by the way, I do agree with you. Like it's elevating, no doubt, right? Like I think when you look around at maybe the broader consolidation in the industry and the delta between, the Chuck in a truck guy and the guy that's maybe Katie Landscape or Weller Brothers or pick your company that's maybe built a little infrastructure, is that the gap is widening, right? Like, I mean, so I think the value proposition for a company like you own or a company like I own is becoming more obvious, or maybe more just like understandable to the broader market, I think. And I don't know what that's probably a product of just like maybe consumer education.
Yeah.
Maybe clients having bad experiences. I don't know what it is, but I do feel like that the gap is widening for sure, so that makes it easier for guys like us, to go and say, this is why we're 20% more money. Right. I mean,
Yeah, it's funny. It was like I don't know, probably a year ago, we landed a nice big $300,000 backyard. And I always try to ask the clients, what was that final thing that got you over the hill and you decided to go with us? Because I know we weren't the cheapest. And they're like, no, you were the most expensive. But after we got your proposal and we started researching your company, all of a sudden every Instagram thing, you guys are coming up because we followed you, and they started seeing us. Then they said, we started seeing your trucks in town. And every time we saw a K&D truck, it was the same looking truck. We swore it was the same truck we kept seeing over and over because we use all the same trucks. And the branding was clean and the trucks are clean and well kept and the back's organized. And they just kind of were like, hey, if you keep your trucks like that and your crews always seem organized and happy and they're smiling and they're not texting and driving, we just felt like you'd do a good job in our backyard. So we picked you because you have the cleanest trucks. And I was like, no shit,
Yeah. I mean, that's a real thing. And by the way, you lose some of those jobs too, right? Like, I mean, I think, do you understand your own value proposition? And to what extent are you willing to move on that and adjust pricing? And for us, back to what I said earlier, it's just like, for us, it's simple economics, right? Like, again, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I do understand supply and demand. And when we have a limited supply and we know that the demand is in most years outpaces the supply, it's like, there's not a ton of reason to adjust pricing. Now, if we want to get really aggressive on a high vis job, that's maybe for a client that we have more of a passion or a heart for, or maybe there's some charitable element to the project. Like, I think, that's different, but
yeah.
I think back to like right when I was kind of starting to maybe our little more upward growth trajectory in our business, and listening to Frank Mariani talk when he was maybe telling a story about back in the downturn or something like that. And he gave it, I don't remember where this was, but I'm paraphrasing and probably got this all wrong, but he said something like everyone's discounting their prices. And I went back and said, we're raising our prices for architecture. And I was like, that's a guy that stands by his, stands by his word, and he knows his value proposition. And I was like, yeah, there's something to that. Now, I don't know if that applies to every single situation in business, but, I think there's something to be said for understanding your worth and knowing what you have to offer and sticking by it. And I really think that if you're doing good quality work paired with some of the business basics that we talked about, there's at least in my experience, there's plenty of work out there. So
I would agree. And on that note of Frank Mariani, it's like if Mercedes-Benz announces a new feature and the car is a little more expensive, like they're still going to sell all the cars they need to sell. But if the Honda Civic announces a price cut, they're going to sell the cars they need to sell. So it's like you attract the buyer in which you advertise to. And so if you advertise price cuts and sales and discount services, you're going to get that type of buyer. But if you announce like our prices are a little bit higher, we have a backlog, we do this type of work, we use this type of technology, it's kind of ironic, but I think you attract that type of buyer who's actually shopping by price, like not lowest, but highest. They want to have the highest guy on their site.
it's like kind of an exercise in ideal client, right? I mean, who are you trying to attract? Who are you selling to? And so there's a balance in that too, right? I mean, so our home base in Sioux Falls, I said that earlier, but we've expanded to a couple other markets. And so that adds a whole nother layer, right? Like, so we can say, well, we know that people might pay a little more because they know the quality we're going to get in Sioux Falls. But when you go to Des Moines, Iowa, I mean, nobody knows Weller Brothers, right? I mean, we're
Right.
just another, for all I know, we're chucking a truck, right? I mean, I like to think that we're doing a little bit better still on the back end with marketing and, our kind of, processes and procedures and just our kind of infrastructure, but also like nobody knows you. So there's an element to understanding your audience and understanding what they know of you too, or what they don't know of you. And how do you adjust pricing and job costing? Yeah. I mean, it gets complex when you talk about expanding markets. Right now, if you're just simple, like, I don't know how many markets you guys are in, but if you're just in Monterey and everyone knows K&D Landscaping is the best, like, yeah, I mean, you can be 10% more, 20% more, or whatever the number is than the chuck and a truck guy. And no one's probably going to question you. They're going to understand your value proposition and say, yeah, I had 3 friends that had you put the backyard in. And so that's why we're going with you. But it's a little more complicated when you move to a new market,
It is, man. We recently had that humbling experience of a GC that we were going after, and we were bidding a job and a newer market. And it was a big job, almost $1 million. And we thought we had it locked up. We are like, there's no way they're not going to pick us. Like we pulled out all the stops, and we get that email like, hey, thanks. We decided to go with someone that we've worked with before, just simply because this is a high visibility, high risk job with a high value client. And it was just a wake up call to us of like, damn, like our reputation, we lean on that so much. And when we're in a newer market and people don't know us as well, you got to be ready for some rejection at a little higher level. I mean, how'd you guys tackle going into a new market and setting up shop?
Yeah. What you said, get used to rejection, right? So, I mean, nobody knows you. I mean, anytime we move, each of the markets that we've expanded, we've moved someone from home base to the market, right? So we just say, I mean, we know you're a good, whoever you are, ops manager, business developer, landscape project manager, whoever you are. And you've done great for us. Just know that, I mean, the kind of the saying when I talk to those individuals that are going to move is just know year one's going to suck. And I mean, it's just, can you grind it out for year one? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And year 2 isn't great, but it's not near as bad as year 1.
Yeah. People start to know who you are.
Exactly. But if anyone is listening to the podcast out there that knows how to make year 1 in a new market not suck, you got to just look me up and give me your experience, because I do not have the answer to that, other than it is just like, you better make sure that person you move there is resilient. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And you got some cash to float the expenses, right?
And it's expensive. Yeah. Now, what I would say is that I'm trying, we've greenfielded both new geographic markets that we've gone to, but then we've made some acquisitions through our kind of journey. And I think there's pros and cons to both. I think in a new market, you've got to greenfield it, right? Like, I mean, I think you can make an acquisition, but I don't, at least in my experience, the size of companies that we're buying, like they don't know our quality or how we do things, or, I mean, just often the disparity in culture is just almost too great to overcome. So I haven't figured out, but I for those new markets for us, it's been cheaper to just move somebody and, you know, take a sucker punch in the gut for the first couple of years and then figure it out. So but does it require cash? Yeah, it does. I mean, there's investment, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, with the market in the acquisition realm of price point and where we're seeing private equity really boost the valuation. I mean, if you want a company that's well established with a good management team in place, I mean, you're paying through the nose for that acquisition. And it's like, can I greenfield and actually have a better culture in 3 years and still have a little bit more money in the bank? Probably. You know, you can. I think you can do it, but we haven't done any acquisitions yet, so you're probably better at exploring that than me. What have been some of those acquisition challenges that you guys have ran into through that process?
Yeah, I mean, every time it's people, right? So like that's just one thing we've known is that look, I think there's by the way, I think there's just two different levels of like acquisitions. I mean, I think you can acquire the company that's got the infrastructure built out and you can pay, a 7x multiple, like whoever, name your private equity roll up, right, is paying, or if they're heavier maintenance, they're going to pay you in the maybe higher than that multiple. And if you're more construction, lower than that. But I mean, the the math for us is like, I can't buy a, I mean, I just don't have the resources to buy a 10 million revenue company doing 15% EBITDA at 7x, right? Like, I mean, I don't have that much money. I mean, I don't have access to that much money. I can't make that work. So I think that's one level, right? And I say 10 million, but I mean, obviously, you hear some of the
Oh
roll up
yeah,
stuff way more than that, right? So but I think then I think there's a gap between the stuff that we're probably buying, which is, or even I'd say buying like we're buying all the time, but we're not. We've done probably through our journey, maybe 3 or 4 acquisitions, but the stuff that we might be able to mathematically make sense of, and that's companies doing a couple million, I mean, the pool company that we just bought was doing a bit more than that, but we kind of worked out a unique deal on that just because of the relationship we had. But, now if you can get those little less sophisticated operators at 3x, or 4x or less than that, and you've got a owner that just wants to get out and wants a nice job making 100 grand, 150 grand a year, whatever it is, and run a little
yep,
division for you, or find a good role in sales, or some kind of people management, ops management, whatever it is. Like, I think those things, at least for the resources that we have access to, are possible, I guess I should say. Um, but back to the question, I mean, like it's people every single time. Like I don't, that's been a challenge. It's been a huge challenge for us. I like to think we're better at it now than we were 5 years ago, but it's still challenges all the time, right? So
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think over the next 5 years, we're just going to see a huge amount of those businesses come up for sale. The $2 to $3 million guys who just want out, they don't have much of a business, and they probably weren't planning to get a bunch of money for it. They want to see it go to a good home. They want to see it integrated to a bigger company that can give their employees a little better benefits
yeah,
and what have you. So, yeah, I think for those listening, I mean, huge opportunity, but beware because you've got to buy it, but then you got to integrate it, right? And that's what you're talking about. The people integration's got to be such a headache for your HR team. Not to mention just the ops, but everybody.
yeah, and I don't know much about K&D other than I know that you guys have scaled enough to have infrastructure and policies and procedures, and you're, a company that's of scale enough to where you have to have that, right? Like even if you
Yep.
didn't want to, you're just at a place where there's just so much exposure if you don't have that stuff in place. And I could tell you right now, like that guy that you're looking at and that you sit down with the owner and you say, our cultures align, and he's doing 2 or 3 million bucks, like your culture doesn't align. I mean, he's not operating that business the same way you are. I mean, you can say that and you can talk about it and I care about my people and I care about my people and that's great. But like caring about your people at 2 or 3 million bucks is not the same thing as having policies and procedures and HR personnel and accountability. And, I mean, it is just not the same thing. So I think you have to,
Yeah.
you've really got to understand that right now, if you go back to what we said, like you're in maybe the, call it private equity world, where you're buying these companies that have these built out systems and processes, like those things are, I feel like have a much higher likelihood of being aligned enough that the people aren't just going to have this wicked culture shock. Like, holy crap, I have to, you know, clock in using an app.
Yeah.
What? Like, I mean, there's a certain scale at which you're like just doing some of that stuff, and I think once you've hit that, you've got a higher likelihood of aligning in a way that's gonna hopefully reduce, you know, turnover and attrition with team members. But I think that if you're licking your chops over, you know, if you're a little bigger company, I don't know, I'm just saying revenue numbers, but if you're doing 10 or 20 million bucks and you're licking your chops over this guy doing 2 million bucks because it's a line and this thing's going to integrate perfectly and the people are all going to be here a year from now and everything's going to be fine. Like, that's just not reality. I mean, I think
yeah.
far more times, far more often than not, that it just isn't what happens. It's just too much change.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you saying that, because I think we do have this idea, and it's all fun and exciting, and you're meeting people and everyone's in the best mood on their best behavior. And the truth of the matter is, yeah, you probably, I'm sure you and our businesses do a lot of stuff that these small businesses have never even thought about doing. And the employees are just like, wow, this is a lot to handle. I don't know if I want to clock in every day and fill out this timesheet and do purchase orders and blah, blah, blah. The responsibilities of a crew leader, I think, are much more elevated at a sophisticated company than a mom and pops.
And by the way, like, that doesn't mean they're bad businesses, right? Like, some of these businesses are awesome. They're good. They're small. They're profitable.
Absolutely.
They're the technician level, you know, field frontline workers are great craftsmen at what they do. They're passionate. They care. They're all those things. It's just like on the back end. Like, look, I mean, when you join a company that's, you know, that just more complex, with more complexity comes more risk and more exposure. And, you know, as good as I do, you have to put things in place to mitigate that risk and exposure. And that's just sometimes too much for people. Which also isn't wrong. I mean, I think that's also okay. But I think if you, as an owner, you know, looking to make an acquisition, if you think that it's just all hunky dory and, you know, there's 10 or 20 employees with this company and, you know, 365 days from now, there's still going to be 10 or 20 employees working for you. Like, it just hasn't been our experience, is what I would say.
Yeah. What would, I mean, it's probably all over the map and there's so many factors that go into it. But if you're buying a company with, let's just say, 20 employees, I mean, is it a 50% at year one type of thing that you would expect?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
a loaded question, dude.
good question. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them that it's, you know, 5%. I mean,
Oh, shit.
I think we can do. I think we can probably do a little better on our end too. So I mean, I would say they're not all going to be working for you in a year. That's what I would tell you. And
I think
and
that's a
that, by the
good
way, that might not be
expectation.
different at small scale acquisition or large scale acquisition. I think there's just I mean, people don't like change, so I think that there's a certain percentage in any deal you do that just aren't going to be there. So
Yeah, I think the better you can make your operation, and the more just dialed in it is at headquarters before you acquire, before you branch out, before you do any expansion. I mean, that is going to be your best antidote to whatever is coming down the pipe, because we just don't know. I mean, economic changes, immigration changes. I mean, so many things can happen that throw us off, and all those, I'm calling it like the Black Swan by Black Swan events, where you have two Black Swan events at the same time that really screw you, because it's never one thing that knocks us off. It's always three or four things that happen at once, right?
that's right. Yeah. So I think, and look, by the way, I'm talking about acquisitions like I'm some kind of expert, and I want everyone that's listening to this to know that I'm not. I'm just speaking. I'm just experience sharing on the few things that we've done. I think that is our experience. I'm sure there are other people out there that are better at it than I am, that have a better experience with people. But I think it comes down to too, like, how much are you willing to sacrifice your culture? How much are you willing to bend on that? You know, I mean, I think it's just difficult to, you know, this guy or gal came to employment with us via an acquisition. So we're going to inconsistently apply the rules and policies to them. And that's, that's not great either. Right. So I think there's some perception there that you have to manage too. And we're just not a organization that's willing to bend much or at all on that. So maybe some of this is our own fault too, right? So.
Yeah, it's well said. I think staying strict with your culture is so important because as soon as you start to let it go just an inch, like you just can't let go of your culture. It's so critical to the success of any service-based business and specifically landscaping. I mean, what we do is so people oriented, and you mentioned people being the biggest challenge. I've got to imagine that's a hard line to hold when you're in an acquisition mode and you're kind of trying to almost convince yourself, well, these people they'll come around, give them time.
or like, well, what happens when he leaves? We still need someone to cut the trees. I mean, like at some point you get down to where it's like, well, but we still have contracts we have to execute on. I mean, who's gonna operate the boom truck, right? You're like, that's a good point. We got to think about that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I think, look, I've got a buddy in town that he's a exec at an architecture firm, and they've acquired a whole bunch of architecture firms, and they're actually grown a nice little business. But he was saying, I was asking him about it. I was like, so what is your kind of math on the people? And he's like, our math is simple. 1 year in, half the people are gone. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably roll with that. I think if you spread that over, that might be right. You know?
Yeah. A good average to shoot for.
Yeah.
That's a good take, man. So Weller Brothers, how'd you guys get started in business? Was this a family business? How'd you guys get started?
Yeah, good question. So I've got a business partner. His name is Brent. It's my younger brother. We started in like kind of like a lot of people back in high school cutting grass. I've told the story a bunch of times, but we were just trying to make enough money to drink beer. I shouldn't say that we were in high school at the time, but that's what you do in South Dakota.
Yeah.
You start drinking beer early in South Dakota. Yeah. So we started in high school and just kind of grew. Actually, you know what? I was telling you about we just remodeled the house. I was telling you about the house we remodeled, right?
Yeah.
So the house that my wife and I bought was like one of the first 15 lawns I ever mowed as a kid.
No shit. That's
yeah.
What are the odds of that?
It was awesome. I remember that. I can still remember the guy. I mean, I know his name. I know his wife's name. I know how we used to cut the grass with a push mower because he had all these weird statues in the backyard and these little walking paths and boxwood hedges and all the. I mean, I can since kind of redone the yard and stuff too. But I can remember it like it was yesterday. Just the backyard, all the stuff. I remember the gentleman's name. I remember his wife and dealing with her. And that was so long ago, but that was kind of come full circle. It was kind of cool.
Wow. What a cool thing. So you guys were doing it in high school, probably not thinking it was going to turn into anything substantial, kind of a summer gig. At what point did you decide, hey, let's make this a real business and go all in as a career?
Yeah. I've told that story a bunch too, but we got involved in like probably 2014, maybe 2014-ish. Brent and I started to get a little more involved in NALP, where we started going to like at that time it was in Louisville. I don't even know what it's called. I mean, it's called Elevate now, but what was it called?
Well, it was GIE
Expo plus NALP. I'm on the NALP Foundation board, so honestly, I should know this stuff. But the event when it was in Louisville forever, we started doing that and doing some of the educational like seminars and attending those things and just meeting people in the industry and figuring out, wow, I remember just some of the first conversations that I had with people who are now great friends, thinking like, holy crap, man, you can do that with a landscape business. I'm just trying to make my rent payment here, like that's pretty cool. And that's kind of when we started in 2001 in high school, and then we really didn't do much with the business, and then until like I said, 2014, then we started. It was about the time I got my then girlfriend, now wife, pregnant with our first kid. Our oldest daughter was the first kind of grandbaby in the family, so it was like a kind of an eye opener for. I've got a brother that's in business, and then I've got that I'm in business with, but then a sister that I'm not in business with. But we had the first grandbaby, my wife and I, and just kind of an eye opener. Like, wow, we've got to figure this out, or have I got a kid coming, right? So we
Yeah, life is
better,
getting real.
yeah, shit or get off the pot, I guess. And so, and about that same time, we started getting involved with the NALP stuff, and that's what really kind of spurred it. And then we've been on a good tear since then. We've been fortunate. So we're having fun.
I'd love to hear that. And, roughly how many employees you guys have today?
We, a couple hundred, I
Yeah.
would say.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow. That's
it's a lot, it's a lot of, it's a responsibility, right? An obligation. I think
it is.
I started in the business because I said that we wanted beer, drinking money. And then I kind of developed like a passion for landscape architecture and went to school for design. And you just over your journey, your focus or what you're passionate about, or maybe your why, as they say, like, what's your why? I think your why just kind of changes. And it's when you, all of a sudden you kind of blink open your eyes and you got a couple hundred families eating lunch off the company, you're at least part of your why better be taking care of those people. Right. So, that's probably where I'm at now, is just, we just got so many great people that we've got, like, just tons of cool people, like, just from all different backgrounds and come from so many different places, and people that, I like to think people that wouldn't have had maybe the opportunities that we've given them if they didn't come to work for Weller. And so there's so many cool stories. We're starting to get we're starting to get to more 10-year anniversaries. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
That is
Um,
cool.
we have kind of a big celebration. We just had one last month at our monthly breakfast for a guy that manages our maintenance division in Sioux Falls. And yeah, we're just getting like so many cool milestones in the journey. It's fun to celebrate. And you said, just kind of think back, like, man, I never thought it would turn into this, but um, we're here. We're having fun doing it.
Yeah, man. That's special. I think that's probably my favorite part of what I do is just giving people opportunities that, they don't have a college degree in this or that, or they haven't been highly educated at some, university. It's just a hardworking person who has some good common sense and wants to get passionate about something. And I think the landscape industry is probably one of the best places where you can make a really good living if you just work hard and you're passionate and you do the right things. It's incredible to see.
Yeah. You've got stories like us too, right? It's just like, that's fun. So I think, world-class landscape architecture is fun. I thought,
Yeah.
back then mowing lawns was fun. And now I think it's just like so many, the people that we have, and that I think it's even as you, I think at any given point in your journey, the opportunities you have to offer people are exciting. And then when you get to like bigger scale, the opportunities you're able to afford people are bigger, right? So you start to get people that are in higher management or upper management or executive level roles, or like these people that have been maybe started in the trenches with you, and now they're like, they've got like a serious job, like a real deal job.
Yeah, like full on career. Like
Yeah, I mean,
like legit C-suite career.
Yeah, like the real deal. I think that's pretty cool. That's what I like. I mean, that's what kind of like keeps me going every day. So
That's so cool, man. I definitely assimilate and agree with that. I think the coolest thing for us, and I think a big driver of my goal to grow the business, is to build up those people. And when you get to that point, you have over 100 employees and you're going to the next level, you open up positions and roles in your company that wouldn't exist at 10 or 15 or 20 employees. And so you get to actually like it gets addicting. Is like, man, we got to grow more. We got to open up another branch. We got to build into a new region because we've got so many grade A people who want the next level, and they see the growth. They want it to continue because they want to be on the leadership team one day, and they want to play that role.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to, you might be able to relate to this, but like back in the earlier days, I think like we've got, numerous people now in jobs with titles and pay that like I probably dreamt of when I was like, gosh, if I could just make this much money doing this job, like who knows, I could probably retire, I mean, like
Yeah.
I remember the first, this is still in high school. We're just cutting grass and we probably were just learning like what else can you do besides cut grass for these people? They trust you to cut their grass, what you can do. And one of the things you use, like, do you guys top dress mulch? I'm sure you do out there.
Oh yeah.
And so Brent and I had this lawn mowing client in Brandon, South Dakota, a little town outside of Sioux Falls where we live now. And I can still remember the house like it's yesterday. And the gal comes out and she says, "Hey, could you redo the mulch for me?" Whatever. And we're like, "Oh yeah, we probably acted like we've done that a whole bunch of times. I'd never done it before." And so we figured out where to buy the mulch, and we figured out what we can kind of charge for the mulch, and we do this deal. And I remember the job was like $1,200, right? And it's like, so I give her the price, sweating bullets, telling her it's $1,200.
Oh yeah, that's so much money at that
I'm
point.
17 years old or whatever I am, at the time. And she says yes. And then I'm really sweating bullets. I'm like, holy crap, man, we are. And so we do the job, we send her the bill, and we get the check in the mail. It's a $1,200 check. I can still like see myself in my childhood home opening this envelope from Deb. And I was like, we're rich.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I don't even think I have to work for the rest of the summer. Right. And then my dad was like, well, you spent $875 on the mulch. And then he gave me a lesson in an early lesson in gross margin or cost of goods sold. And so then we figured out that we probably really didn't make that much money. But man, when I had that $1,200 check, I was like, dude, this is so cool.
That is such a cool memory. I mean, that's what drives us today. We look back at those moments and it is kind of crazy to think about what payroll cost every payroll run, every week or 2 weeks, whatever you do. And it's just, whoa, like imagine that at 20 years old of saying, hey, you're going to have a $500,000 payroll run every 2 weeks. Like you would never, that would never even think of something that would ever happen at a company that I ran. That's kind of a cool thing to look back on.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I think everything grows. It's fun. I think if you can relate, I think if you can be, I think if not, if you can be, I think if you are a person that is genuinely passionate about giving other people opportunity and doing the right things, and you can pair that passion with some of the things we talked about earlier, which is like the business basics. I think in this industry, it's hard to be stopped. Like also, don't suck at landscaping. That's important too. But
yeah,
if you compare some of those things, like it's such a cool industry. Like there's just so much fun to be had. I mean, there's like, I do truly have just so many days of pure joy being in this industry. And I think I got there by probably a bunch of days that maybe weren't as fun, by the way, but it hasn't been fun every single day. But like, I get to have a ton of fun. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like most days, most of my days are pretty damn good.
Yeah, I love that because it's true. I mean, I think we get caught up in the day to day, and as leaders in business, we get so busy with the business aspect, we forget about how good we have it. So I appreciate you bringing that up. It's just a good reminder of, hey, we got it pretty good. So
yeah, and like with that comes its challenges too, right? Like I don't want to sit here and say like every day is the best. I've never had a bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like there's tons of opportunity to do good things and make clients happy, do good things for your team members and support them and their families. And I think if you do genuinely and authentically care about that, I think the the opportunities are endless, right? And I think if you say that but you fake that, I think
Hmm.
the type of people we hire are smart enough to sniff that out too, and they know that.
Yeah, I agree. You can't fake culture and you can't fake being genuine about and being genuine about your passion to grow a business and be there for your team. I mean, I've seen it. It just doesn't last. Sooner or later, people are going to catch on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's I love the industry though. I think that's where I'm going with that. I do. I've loved it for a really long time. It's been a huge part of my life, my family's life. So
Yeah, man. I mean, this industry is, I'm sure for you, but it's given my family everything we have. I mean, it's been it's been the thing that has kept us going. And we mentioned NALP a little bit earlier. I mean, organizations like NALP are so incredibly important, I think, to give back to and be involved with. And I appreciate your involvement there. And it takes leaders at all levels to be involved and to make that association what it is, because it's only as good as the participation that us as members give that organization.
yeah, there's an element to that too that's giving back, right? I mean, I think what you
Mm-hmm.
said, like, well, when did you start to grow, or when did you? I mean, I can very specifically relate it back to NALP, like without a doubt. And so for me, I told you I'm on the foundation board. Like there's an element that is just it's an obligation that I have to give back, and I think there are people that feel like that about certain things, and then maybe people that have maybe don't as much. And I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong, but for me, it's like I can very, very succinctly relate the start of our kind of more hockey stick, whatever trajectory you would call it, to that in the resources that association has given me by way of networking or educational seminars or whatever it might be. So I think it is, at least for me, that's my heart. I don't want to be a guy that is always taking more than he gives. So for me, that's just like kind of a conviction that I have. So
Yeah, man. I mean, the more you give, the more you get. And
that's right.
it is so true. So I think that's a great place. I want to start kind of wrapping it up. And Cole, like, thanks so much for your time and all your insights today. One thing I always like to ask our guests is for a trade secret, something that you can't learn in a book or what have you. But what's something that you've learned at the School of Hard Knocks here in the landscape industry that you'd like to share with our guests?
I I I thought about that because you were nice enough to give me like at least a partial list of the questions. So thank you for that. Um, so I sound less like an idiot, right? The I think like the trade secret is, at least at Weller, like what is like the sauce? What's something that we do or I do as a leader? I would probably go back to probably a couple things. I would go back to what we just talked about, which is just like, are you genuinely and authentically about your people? Do you have a heart for them? Are you empathetic? Do you listen to them? Do you know who they are? Do you know who their families are? Like, and I said we got a couple hundred employees, right? So I don't know everybody's name and everybody's family, but I mean, if you've been around for a while, like I know who you are. I think that's very difficult to fake. So whether that's through saying hi in the morning or acknowledging them or going out in the field and visiting sites and shaking hands and at company events, taking time to talk to their children or get to know them or their wives or their husbands. I think that's for us is probably a big part of the secret sauce. And then I think the other thing, you might not like this because I know what you do for, kind of your business, and then you've got your kind of consulting stuff and whatever. But like, there is just so much. I want to relate this comment back to like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, right? Like I'm like, let's pick one or two things and do those really good and then move on to the next one or two things. And there is just so much information out there on like, we got to do this and this is the next, and you got to go to this educational and this training and go to oh my, this guy's putting on this seminar and we're going to these peer groups and we're doing all this stuff, which, but by the way, I'm part of it. I do that stuff, but like there's like information overload out there.
Yeah.
Go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, which is like, look, don't overcomplicate this. This is an industry that is a trades industry. It is, whether you like it or not, it is probably not, it itself is probably not known as the most savory industry. And if it is, it's lumped in with other trades industries that are maybe not known as the most savory industries, with, you know, lies and deceits and botched timelines and over budget and blah, blah, blah. And so I think it's an industry where just do the basics really well. Just start there. So I know that you need this process for this and this system, and you can grow your company by this and 10x it and do all the whatever. But it's like, are you just doing the basics well? Just start there.
Yeah.
And that has been something, that's been something I've like hung on to for a really long time. And we still talk about it every single day. Like, we talk about it all the time at Weller with our sales team, with our, did you call them back? Did you answer your phone? Did you deliver? You know, we botched the spray application on the, you know, Zimmerman pine moth tree, whatever, you know, whatever did we go there and talk to them, right? They're angry about it. They're dissatisfied with this. Do we go and like knock on the door and shake their hand and say, look, I'm Cole, I'm with Weller Brothers, and I want to talk about the issue you had with our service. Like, are we talking about the difficult things face to face? And are we just doing the fundamentals well? And I think like all the industry noise out there, I'm like, and I'm not discounting all of that, but what I'm saying is like, feel like so many of us just still don't even have the basics down.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we doing those things well? Especially if you're like a little smaller company, right? Like, you can go pay consultants and join the groups and do the seminars and do all this stuff. But it's like, are you really just doing the simple stuff well? Start there. And then like, once you can say, look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm doing all of that really, really well. I want to pay Justin, you know, $400 an hour to come in and sweep my business and tell me what to do and this and processes and back end stuff. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, we pay consultants, right? But not until you're doing this other stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff in your control that you don't need a guy to tell you,
Yep.
do this. I mean, we're talking business fundamentals. And so I don't know that I think there's some principled things in the realm of business fundamentals that I don't think you grow out of with scale.
Yeah.
I think you can root yourself in those things. And I think that can take you a really long ways.
I completely agree with that. I think it also comes down to self-discipline, because so many people know what they need to do and they still don't do it. And it's just like, guys, it's easier than ever to be successful today. Like, all the information's out there. You just got to do it. You just got to do it.
I gave speaking of NALP and like giving back. So like by the way, I am not a public speaker. But I will like just experience share, like, you know, maybe like this podcast, or I last year at Elevate, or maybe last year, the year before, myself and our COO gave a piece on training, and like, we've got a Foreman Fast Track program that we've developed over the last like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And for developing like our frontline workers into, you know, taking them from like a technician level to a foreman. And we call the program Foreman Fast Track. And so we've got like the tracking mechanism and the grading and the rating, and we've got the training coordinators that manage it, and the recognition and all the things. And so it's a cool program. It's one of the things maybe trade secret. I don't know if that's a trade secret, because I shared that with everybody that asked me about it. But I gave a talk on it at Elevate for NALP. And one of the things I think someone in the audience asked me something like, maybe like what you just did, like trade secret or something. And I'm like, look, we all have access to the same information, right? Like, me paying you a consulting fee doesn't get me any, you know, unique access to information. Like, the next guy
Trade
can just
secrets.
hire you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like, I can go to Peer Group, I can go to NALP, I can hire an industry consultant, I can do all those things. I can go to like whoever's starting the next consulting thing. Like, that's just dollars, right? Like, I mean, we all have access to, you know, within reason, like an amount of dollars that we could hire consultants for to tell us what to do. And I'm like, so I was on stage and I was like looking out at the audience, and I was like, so we all have access to the same information. And so what's the difference between the guy that can grow from 2 million to 20 million if we're measuring this in revenue, or the guy that can't and he can only go from 2 million to 3 million. And it's just execution, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
we all have access to the same information. It's just what do you do with the information? Like how well do you go and execute it? And that is the only difference.
Couldn't agree more. Like, it's easier than ever to be successful, but it's easier than ever to be distracted. There's because that information overload. So I agree. I think it's like you got to sift through the bullshit, but whether you're doing 100,000, a million, or 100 million, to your point, the business basics will always apply, and you almost need to do them more or focus on them more as you get bigger. Because I've found, like, as we've scaled, we've gotten away from the business basics in some areas because the team thinks like, well, we have technology for that. We don't need to follow up the client because it automatically emails them. And it's like, guys, no one wants to be followed up with an email. Like, come on, sales 101.
That's a dangerous game too, right? Or like we have conversations with we've been having like through 2024 into 2025 conversations with our sales team about like, I don't think we went completely off the rails, but like during the COVID spike of the, kind of like liquidity into the markets and everyone's got money and everyone's spending money and all the big spike that we had in our businesses, like, did we lose a little bit of our luster with nurturing our clients and taking care of them and following up with them? And like, and I asked them individually, like, maybe you didn't like maliciously think it, but was there a point where you're kind of like, oh, that was a $200,000 pool job, but like, I'll just get the next one. And I'm like,
because there's so much work coming. Yeah.
It's just like, well, I don't really need to worry about it. And I'm just like, but that's really not who we are at Weller. That's never who we've been. Right. And so we've been having conversations with that about that. And like, we need to get back to like who we've always been. And by the way, I don't think we were like completely lost. We didn't just like go to shit, but I think admittedly, I think we probably weren't our best, is what I would say.
I'm with you on that, man. I think we could all kind of go back to that point when there is so much demand. We got a little lazy on some things because you knew there was always another project around the corner that was gonna come our way. So just keep that sharp, keep that sword sharp, I think is what we're saying here.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's my guidance and my experience, Sharon. I don't think I made any major revelations to anyone today, but that's what I've got,
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I am going to go back and I'm going to ask our team how we're doing on the business basics, because I think it's a good time for a checkup midsummer, or we're going into summer. It's a good time to make sure we're dialed in. Cole, man, thanks for being on. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being vulnerable. Appreciate everything you shared today.
This is one more tip. This is one thing we're doing. I got to share with you.
Please do.
Like our sales team, we're going back. We're saying, what's more important, a client that calls you with a customer service issue or a new sales lead?
Ooh, it's an existing
just
client.
asking that
All day. Yeah. What's your take?
Existing client all day, right?
All day. Protect it.
And by the way, that might be warranty work, or that might be an uncomfortable conversation with that client. But like, you pissed that one person off and you don't follow up with them. Like every single company's answering the phone for the new lead.
Dude, everyone wants to jump at the opportunity, but the biggest opportunity are rooted in the issues within your business.
For sure.
That's where you got to focus.
So when those salespeople, the sales team has those personal relationships, like personal cell phone relationships with those clients, right? Like, get your sales team to think that those interactions, whether it's a difficult conversation or a client service issue or a warranty issue or something they just don't want to deal with because they've got all these new big, awesome, sexy pool projects coming in, right? Get them to think that those interactions with clients are more important than the new leads, and you'll develop clients for life all day long.
Man, that's a good reminder to everybody out there. Remind your sales teams, or maybe if you are a salesperson, don't forget about the people that got you here. And number one rule of growth is keep the clients that you have.
That's right,
man. Cole, right on, man. Well, are you going to be at Elevate this year in Phoenix coming up?
Where's it at this year?
It's in Phoenix. They're coming back to the West Coast.
Yeah, Phoenix. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be there.
All right, man. Well, we'll have to find you and track you down. But again, thanks for everything. And guys, thanks for listening. I think this is a great podcast. So we'll wrap there.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.